a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. Ambassador, Donald Trump has been pushing Zelensky to make concessions, especially on territories which Zelensky doesn't really want. Do you think Trump is being too hard on Ukraine and Zelensky?
Look, I think Ukraine has said yes to at least half a dozen proposals from President Trump, and Russia has said no to all of those proposals. The Ukrainians and the Americans negotiated a new text after the 28-point text, which had large clauses favorable to Putin, and then Putin rejected those. So it's clear who's the obstacle to peace. And it's President Trump who said that basically he was seeking a peace along the current lines occupied by the opposing forces. Ukraine has said yes to that, and that's a very painful compromise because that's Ukrainian territory Russians are sitting on. Russia has said no. It seems to me that what President Trump said yesterday, fortunately, has not been repeated, but also he was probably misinformed by his negotiators. He said that the negotiators, the Ukrainian negotiators, agreed with the American negotiators on those proposals. And we know that's not true, given what the Ukrainian negotiators said after that statement. So the problem is really with Putin and not with Ukraine. And it would be a disaster for Ukraine to give up Western Donbass, which Russian military has been incompetent to take, been unable to take. It would be a disaster also for the United States because it would make it easier for Putin to take the rest of Ukraine.
So you're saying that it's clear now who's the actual obstacle to peace. And you mentioned Trump's initial 28-point plan for Ukraine, widely seen as heavily favoring Russia, even implementing some Russian talking points and a Russian narrative. And also you have the latest national security strategy, where the Trump administration is no longer considering Russia as a direct threat. Do you think all this is problematic, the way Trump appears to sort of be edging closer to Russia?
Well, it's worth noting that the national intelligence estimate that was released early in the Trump administration identified both China and Russia as adversaries of the United States. It's also worth noting that the Russians called the United States adversary number one. So whether or not there are some people in the Trump White House or the Trump administration who are naive about Russia's intentions, Russia is very clear that the United States is its adversary, and the United States should be ready for that.
Sir, at the Doha Forum, Donald Trump Jr. said that his father might actually walk away from the Ukraine war. What would that mean, though, for Ukraine and the Europeans if, in fact, Donald Trump moves away from these negotiations? Unfortunately, I think we've lost our audio connection there to Ambassador Herbst. Thank you, though, for joining me, if you can still hear me.
So to understand that Donald Trump Jr. is obviously the son of the... can see his father pretty much whenever he wants. And very clear, Trump has been president for 11 months, or nearly 11 months. End this war. He cannot walk away from this war now without admitting that he failed. And I don't think he'll do that.
All right, John Herbst, a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. Thank you again for joining us on the program.